All right, so we're diving into something kind of messy today. You know the Jannik Sinner situation, right? Tested positive for ball after that huge U.S. Open win. Gets cleared by the independent tribunal. You'd think that's that case closed.
Right.
But then WADA steps in with an appeal.
And that's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just some simple open and shut case. There are layers here.
Okay, lay it on me. I'll be honest. When I first heard Sinner was cleared, I was like, all right, done deal. So how do we even get to this point?
So it all starts with ball itself. It's an anabolic steroid.
Yeah.
Big no-no in tennis, obviously.
Gives you an edge in a sport that's already physically demanding.
Exactly. Muscle growth, recovery, all that. Now, the tribunal, they agreed. Sinner tested positive. But they concluded it got into his system unintentionally. No fault on his part.
So if he's cleared, why is WADA appealing?
That's where this whole strict liability thing comes in with anti-doping. Imagine you're Sinner. Yeah. You were the biggest tournament of your life. On top of the world. Bam, positive test throws everything into chaos. But even if it was a total accident, under strict liability, athletes are responsible for any banned substance in their system. Intentional or not.
Wait, so even if Sinner's team proves he didn't take it on purpose, that might not even matter.
It's tough, but that's the thing about anti-doping. They take it very seriously.
I can see why they're pushing back, but still, you have to feel for the guy. Are there any examples of this strict liability playing out in other cases?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a bunch of cases that show just how tricky this whole thing can get. Like that swimmer back in the 90s, Nelson DeJong, failed a doping test because of a contaminated energy drink.
Seriously?
Yeah, he had no clue what was really in it. Totally unintentional, but because of strict liability, he got hit with a suspension.
Oof, tough break for him. So that's not a great sign for Sinner. But a buyer's appeal that goes to the Court of Arbitration for Sport Right, what's our track record like? Are they all about strict liability, or have we seen some leniency in the past?
Yeah, good point. They've definitely upheld it in a lot of cases. But there have been times where they've been a bit more lenient, especially when there's strong evidence of accidental ingestion. Yeah. Like you've got Marin Cilic back in 2013. He tested positive for a banned stimulant, but he argued it was from a contaminated glucose supplement, and they actually reduced his ban. They acknowledged it was unintentional.
Okay, so there's hope for Sinner yet. Any other times where CAS kind of cut athletes some slack like that?
There's a really interesting one with Richard Gasquet in 2009. He tested positive for cocaine.
Wait, cocaine?
Yeah, seriously. But he said he was accidentally exposed to it at a nightclub. And get this, CAS actually overturned his ban completely.
They overturned a cocaine ban based on a nightclub.
They believed his explanation and the evidence he had.
Yeah, wild. But that's got to be a good sign for Sinner, right? If they were willing to overturn or reduce bans in those cases, is there a decent chance he walks away from this?
Well, you got to remember, every case is different. CAS is going to look at all the specifics. Those past rulings might give Sinner's team some hope, but WADA clearly thinks they've got a strong enough case to appeal. They're probably saying the circumstances around Sinner's positive test are different enough that it should have a different outcome.
Okay, so where does that leave us? What are the chances Sinner actually gets banned? And what's the timeline on all of this?
Yeah, so if I had a crystal ball...
We wouldn't need this deep dive.
Exactly.
So no crystal ball, huh? But you're the expert. What are we looking at here?
It's tough to say. I mean, the initial ruling, that's in Sinner's favor, right? That definitely carries some weight. Overthrown, that's not going to be easy. WADA, they need to come with a really strong argument.
And what about the timeline on all this? Is Sinner kind of stuck in limbo here?
Yeah, that's the thing about CAS. They're known for having a pretty big backlog of cases. And even though a case like Sinner's, high profile, it might get fast-tracked a bit. There's no real guarantee. Could be months. Could even be a year or more before we get a final decision.
That's a long time to have something like that hanging over your head. Especially when you've just reached the top of your game. Makes you think about the kind of pressure these athletes are under.
Oh, absolutely. The mental toughness to compete at that level, and then to have this whole thing looming over your career really shows how important these anti-doping rules are. For everyone involved, really.
Yeah, this whole thing, it's bigger than just one tennis player and a positive test, isn't it? It's about fairness and responsibility in pro sports.
Exactly. It's that balance between strict liability, which you need for a level playing field, but then you have these situations where it feels like an unfair outcome, when it seems like the athlete had no control.
Yeah, it makes you wonder at what point is an athlete truly responsible? If it was unintentional. I don't know, man. If I was on that CAS panel, I wouldn't know where to start.
It's a tough one, for sure. And that's what makes this whole case so interesting. We've looked at the facts, the rules, the precedents, but it really highlights how complex this all is. Even with clear rules, you still get these ethical dilemmas.
No easy answers, but that's what these deep dives are all about, right? Really get into the weeds, grappling with the tough questions.
Yeah, exploring the nuances.
But hopefully we all come out a little bit wiser, even if we don't have all the answers.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the issue and maybe getting some good conversations going.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. If you were on that CAS panel, how would you rule in Sinner's case? Tough one, right? Something to think about while we wait for that final verdict. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.